Welcome to the show, Jim. Thank you very much for telling me to stop moving my papers around in front of the microphone because it crackles and is a distraction. I agree. I'm sorry. You're perfectly right. Welcome to the Court of Public Opinion, ladies and gentlemen. All your comments and criticisms, everything, absolutely welcome. The program at 5 days a week is on Facebook, as we are at the moment, and as a podcast, wherever you get your favourite podcasts from, whatever platform it might be. I hope it'll become one of your favourite podcasts. I like to think we're doing something different and necessary, maybe getting people to think. We talk about the stuff that nobody else seems to want to talk about in the media, but there you go. Maybe we can embarrass them into doing something similar. Who knows? Oh, look, Pete, did you know that yesterday's program, Peter Clayton behind the camera, we got censored?
No, I didn't know that. No.
Well, I was watching it and it jumped like that. Now, we don't do any editing. When I sit here and do the program, I do it without the privilege of taking it away and dressing it up or anything else. It's just as it is. Anyway, it's most unusual to see this jump in the story that we were doing about Mount Warning. Just briefly, and if this gets edited or censored, I don't know what we do, Pete. But anyway, what I was saying was, look, Mount Warning was given to the Aboriginal people, 3, 4, 5 months ago, something like that. And the first thing they did was to ban, well, I mean, logically, ban all white people. Well, see, it's not logic, is it? No, it's not logic. Because when the people of Australia, which of course includes Aboriginal people, owned Mount Warning, we didn't preclude anyone from climbing up and taking pictures and hiking and all that sort of stuff, for which Mount Warning is famous. But the moment they had title to it, they banned all white people. But most importantly, this was the bit that somebody cut out of yesterday's program when I said that they banned all women, black and white. Women were not allowed to go or climb or hike Mount Warning. I can't see what is inflammatory about that, but having noticed that it was censored, I went back to check my facts, and that is absolutely true. So I don't imagine Facebook or anyone else is interested in censoring the truth. Gee whiz, I'd like to think that the truth was paramount, absolutely important. Anyway, welcome to the show. I hope you're well. Thursday, getting to the end of the week. Before we get into the stuff of the week, July 6, some of the things that happened. The Northern Territory passes from South Australia. No, it passes from New South Wales to South Australia. Wow. That's along the lines of the Louisiana Purchase that we were talking about the other day. That's the whole big strip through Central Australia. We owned the whole thing. I don't know what went wrong with that, but that was back in 1863. We owned the lot. That was all South Australia. Good land deal. Louis Armstrong, American jazz trumpeter and singer. Hello, Dolly. What the world. What a wonderful world. Yes, that was a great hit. He dies of a heart attack at 69 in 1971. Ruth Cracknell, Australian actress, mother and son, born Maitland, died 2003, born 1925. The lovely Ruth Cracknell, who started out in radio and on stage, but radio she was really good at. Lyman Blake patents the shoe manufacturing machine. Wow, 1858. A machine that manufactured shoes. I don't know what the cobblers of the day thought about that. France introduces, this is an idea, petrol and diesel cars will be banned by 2040. That was 2017. They may have to rethink that. as I told you, Volkswagen, probably the biggest car manufacturer in the world, is scaling back its production of electric vehicles because people aren't ordering them, people aren't buying them. Pirate Captain William Kidd is captured in Boston in 1699. Geoffrey Rush, Australian actor. Shakespeare in Love, The King's Speech, born Toowoomba. Do you know what Toowoomba? Pete, have you ever been to Toowoomba?
Yeah, my brother lives there.
Really? Do you know what it means?
It's two something.
Two swamps.
Yeah, yeah.
It's Aboriginal for two swamps.
That's right.
Why would you build a city or a town when the Aboriginals have told you the place is a swamp or two swamps? There's no accounting for taste. No accounting for town planning. The Institute for Sexual Science opened in Berlin. Golly, 1919 that was. Be interesting to know the sort of the list of students, wouldn't it? Establish a study for sexual science, 1919. Abbott and Costello's film, The Naughty Nineties, released featuring the longest version of their famous Who's On First routine, 1945. Abbott and Costello. George W. Bush, American businessman and Republican politician, 43rd President of the United States, 2001 to 2009, 46th Governor of Texas, born in New Haven, Connecticut, in 1946. George W. Bush. Louis Pasteur successfully gives an anti-rabies vaccine to a 9-year-old Joseph Misler, saving his life. 1885 was the year. Janet Leigh, American actress, Psycho, born in, well, I don't mean that disparagingly, you understand. I mean, she was in the movie Psycho. Psycho, born in California, mother of Jamie Lee Curtis, obviously married to, what's the singer, Pete?
Oh, Tony.
Tony Curtis, yeah. Janet Leigh and Tony Curtis. Anyway, Janet Leigh died in 2004, in 1927, and will always be remembered for that scene in the shower. Ooh, brave for the day. Christian, his real name, or the name we all came to know him by and love him by, was Buddy Ebsen. Buddy Ebsen Jr., the American actor, Beverly Hillbillies, Breakfast at Tiffany's. He dies of complications from pneumonia at 95 on this day in 2003. The Swedish pop group, well, they were in there getting married, one after the other. Bjorn weds Agnetha. They divorced in 1980, but married this day in 71. Burt Ward, American actor. Batman and Robin, born in Los Angeles, California. 1945, 1928, the first all-talking motion picture was shown in New York. It was called Lights of New York, and the year was 1928. You see, I thought the first talkie was The Jazz Singer with Al Jolson. I'll have to check that. Victorian Premier Chairman Daniel Andrews was born in 1972. God, that man's had a charmed life. America officially begins withdrawing from the World Health Organization. Yep, I would have done that. 2020 was the year. Sylvester Stallone, the American actor. Rocky, Rambo, Cobra, born New York, 1946. The French government proclaims an end to stamp and land tax. Wow, 1787. The French government proclaims an end to stamp and land tax. Never should be there in the first place, frankly. Oh, and the AK-47, the weapon of choice for terrorists around the world, goes on sale for the very first time. It was made in the Soviet Union by a fellow called Kalashnikov. It carries his name too, 1947. Going way back to 1947, the first Kalashnikov comes out. John Lennon and Paul McCartney, John was 16, Paul was 15. They meet for the first time on this day in 1957. Yes, I know, Pete. Shut up.
I didn't say a word.
No, you didn't have to. No, you didn't have to. No. We get to the stuff of the day. Right off the top of my head, this is personal, I think. Off the top of my head, is there anything quite so ugly as a puffer jacket? Look, they're not cheap, and I'm sure they're warm, but I just don't get puffer jackets. Have you got a puffer jacket, Pete? No, I haven't. I got an old battered leather coat that I got from a op shop, and I'll wear that till I die. Probably go to the coffin in it. Let's not get morbid. I don't want to bore you I don't want to bore you ever, but not with a single subject. But I tuned into the Canberra Press Club yesterday, where the Minister for Indigenous Affairs, why we have a Minister for Indigenous Affairs when we don't have a Minister for Caucasian Affairs, I have no idea. But Linda Burney, centre stage at the Press Club, the Canberra Press Club, wall-to-wall journalists. You would think that in that room, filled with inquisitive, questioning minds, investigative journalists, looking for answers, probing, searching for the truth, I would imagine that every newspaper would have journalists based in Canberra, able to report on that appearance by Linda Burney. The media, I would have thought, would be full of her discussion, her argument, mostly about The Voice. Well, we'll see over the next few days. I haven't checked the papers this morning, but we'll see. But it did seem to me to be more of a cheer squad, a stacked deck, you might say. Maybe that's just my impression. Anyway, that aside, from everything else, her entire presentation was a kind of a woe is me session. Every bad thing that has happened to Aboriginal Australians has been somebody else's fault. Somebody else's problem. Somebody else's selfishness. Minister, there is such a thing as being the architect of your own misfortune. This was not so much a speech as it was a tale of woe. As I said, woe is me. Her interpretation of Indigenous Australia is that they are victims. I don't understand her position. There are advantages, there are subsidies, there are helping hands and benefits absolutely everywhere for no reason other than someone is Indigenous. If Indigenous Australians want to get ahead, there is every door open to them. Advantages, opportunities, all sorts of benefits that do not exist for white Australia. But yes, you do have to access them. You have to be ambitious. Opportunity is only an opportunity if you take advantage of it. You have to take advantage of what's in front of you. And you have to recognize what is in front of you. It's called opportunity. Or on the other hand, I don't know, it's not my thing, but you can wear a loincloth and you can jump up and down in the dust waving a boomerang and cover yourself with white paint. I don't know that that's going to get you a job or anywhere in life, but if that's your choice, that's fine. But please don't blame white Australia for Indigenous inability to take advantage of what has been provided at enormous expense. We'll have more to say about all of this as the referendum draws closer. I find it extraordinary that this woman, this Minister for Indigenous Affairs, I've never met her, I don't know that I've even ever spoken to her, Linda Burney, she could stand up there and criticise the world that has given so much opportunity. Where would she in fact be today without the white man's world? I wonder if she ever thinks about that, about the upside. I know she wants a yes vote. That's what all of this yesterday was about. But after listening to her at the press club, there is no way, based on her arguments, there is no way that the Voice is going to get a yes. And it shouldn't, because it is crazy, divisive and racist. It's 2 years now since the authority, this new authority, popped up to control those single-use plastics, you know, straws and little takeaway knives and forks and all sorts of single-use plastics. The single most important, serious environmental problem. Plastics generally, a real crisis, not a phony climate change crisis, but a real crisis. And I'm here to report to you, won't get much coverage because it doesn't actually fit the narrative. I'm here to report to you that not one charge has been laid. Not one fine has been imposed. Not one arrest has been made. Not one report. A multi-million-dollar organisation to tackle this very serious problem, and in 2 years, nothing. Zip. What was that? Window dressing? I can tell you what it was. Waste of time and a waste of money. But if you're talking about Canberra, nothing new there. I think we should have a reality check. You know, the Reserve Bank came out with the interest rate pause on Tuesday, as I predicted or suggested it probably would. The RBA would leave the rates on hold at 4.1%, which is remarkably low, historically low. Maybe you've got to be as old as I am before you know that. Not as low, of course, as 0.1%. But seriously, if you thought that rates would stay at that low, no one should have given you a loan in the first place. Did you honestly imagine that when you took out that loan that you could afford at 0.1%, that the rates would stay at 0.1%? If you watch the news services, the journalists are either too young to remember or just simply, I don't know, shock horror. That's, you know, the sky's falling in, all of that stuff that they do, and not even terribly well. Forget reality. We don't tell the story. Let's please be realistic. If you go in and you borrow money and you're forced to go to food depots, food banks, you know, charities, because the interest rates are at 4.1%, what the hell did you borrow the money for in the first place? I don't mean to be too hard, but you borrow money knowing that the interest rate normally is between 5 and 7%. That is the rule of thumb. That's what your bank or your lender should have told you. What's going on? As I say, ladies and gentlemen, a reality check. The discomfort, and yes, the pain, is just evidence that the medicine, that is the higher interest rates, are working. Look at this like, for example, have you ever had a hangover, Pete?
Yeah, once.
Well, you're a lucky boy. Look at this. Look at this as if it was a hangover. We had the party, that's interest rates at 1/10 of 1%. Now we are having the morning after. But do remember, it is far better to have had a morning after than never to have had a night before. I'll leave you with that. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Jeremy Cordeaux. Peter Clayton and I will be back tomorrow. End of the week. Believe in yourself. Thank you for viewing the Court of Public Opinion.